controversial subjects with the facts can be tense, but we are a science here to make things make sense.
In true fashion of any time we make content about anything, it affects our lives extremely. And I am so tired today. This is my third coffee, which I actually never do.
Third?
And I'm literally going over my notes of like, I'm going to talk about caffeine and why like I shouldn't be doing this right now. But sometimes you got to do it. And yeah, I manifested this into my life for no good reason. We went to bed so early last night.
Yeah.
And then like could have gotten 9 hours of sleep. And I feel like I got under 6, which for me...
Under 6? Oh my God.
I know a lot of people out there like have that happen on a regular basis. But if I get under 6, it's like game over.
We were watching Rosie O'Donnell reruns late tonight. And it is so... good that we were kind of like it jacked us up and we were both like we can't do this before bed.
Happened like
it did.
I was so tired at like
mood.
9 p.m. and then by 10:30 when we were like getting ready for bed I was like I've never been more amped in my life.
I know. Don't watch Celine Dion interviewed by Rosie O'Donnell and LOL.
Greg was literally just like, these are my 2 biggest like influences in my life on camera together. What a beautiful moment.
I was so sleep deprived yesterday. I fell asleep at 5:30 a.m. on Saturday night. After lying in bed, I didn't stay out late. I watched the sun come up. I couldn't sleep. That rarely happens to me. So yesterday, again, why this podcast is happening, I felt that feeling, that sleep deprivation. It was like a hangover. Like, and I kind of didn't, it was interesting. I was like, it's sad. I was like, this day's a write-off. Like, there's no point in trying to feel happy.
Right. You just got to kind of make it through until you can get a better sleep.
And I did. It was my nephew's birthday. It was so cute and fun. And I got to go to the birthday party and kind of help out. And that was helpful because the kids were so cute. And what it made me realize is that being a parent is so intense because you lose so much sleep. But there is something about it that's energizing because you have to be.
Yeah, there's no choice. It's like when you're on a film shoot or probably doing any job where it's like the day is something crazy. And even if you're tired, it's like, even if you have 4 hours left, you just have to keep going.
Yeah. I think a lot of
stuff.
And a lot of people who probably don't get that much sleep have probably very stressful or busy lives that kind of keep them going. Because
I think that is the case. I don't think most, like, yes, there are small genetic sort of like mutants that can survive on like 4 hours of sleep. It's like a very small population. But I think most people who are getting that much sleep are not doing it by choice, would choose to sleep more. Although you condition yourself. Like there are times when you just get so used to waking up and going to bed at the same time that they might feel it. But
there was this study I read that said it takes 6 years for new parents to get back onto the sleep cycle of prior to kids.
No. Like that's the thing that makes me most scared about having kids.
Well, they said obviously there's a gradual shift back. It was only based on surveys, so it was only based on them asking them. So it wasn't like a solid fact. You know what I mean?
Right.
It was asking, how do you feel like your sleep has altered at this point in life, and for all of 6 years, both parents, but more of the people with vaginas, the women who had the baby, were more impacted. Self-surveying, though. You know what I mean?
Self-serving? Oh, self.
Like it's like there was no. Yeah,
but that's all like. To be honest, in my mind, like cognitive abilities, one thing that you need to test, but like sleepiness, like how you perceive yourself to be is kind of all that matters. Like it's like pain. It's like if I tell you I'm the most tired I've ever been, I don't care if you can measure that my body's performing better than before. It's like, no, I feel tired. And to me, that's what I want to even talk about today. I'm actually making a video that will hopefully be like a super guide to like the top research and expert backed things you can do to be less tired. Because do you consider yourself a tired person?
No.
Like I think you come off to me as somebody who has energy every day. It's not like you're always on your A game, but I, for so much of my life, just was like every day be like, oh my God, I'm always tired. Like literally not only just waking up would I be tired, but like through the day, I'd be like, I can barely function. My brain's not working. And so I feel like I've spent like years literally trying, like reading books, trying things, going to sleep tests in like finding out if I have like sleep apnea or any other conditions. And despite being extremely tired today, I think overall I am so much less tired. Like, of course, I have bad days and weeks and months, but I don't consider myself a tired person in the same way I used to.
We also have a very privileged job. Thank you all so much. Make sure you tell your friends and family to subscribe to Sidenote by ASAP Science. In that we'd
like to keep sleeping in.
Yeah, like I think that's why I say that I'm not that tired. And if I think back when I was a teacher and my life was, I would have probably said, yes, I am a tired person, because I was being forced to get up at 5:30. So regardless of how my night went the night before, there was a lot of days where I was like, I'm exhausted because I've worked late, and now I'm getting up at 5:30 and I have to get up at 5:30.
Right.
So what I think I realize now is that in order to get my like more than 7 hours, I can, because if something happens that night, I can keep pushing my alarm back.
Right.
To get it.
You have the flexibility of like, I didn't sleep. I couldn't sleep for 3 hours. Okay, I can push.
Yes.
Unless we, every now and then we have a meeting, but especially during the pandemic, it's like we didn't have to be anywhere. We just could sleep in.
And I think that like, because looking at my baby nephew, they need like something crazy, like the amount of hours per day.
Like 13 hours.
Yeah. And then it goes down as you age. And they sort of say that adults need more than 7 hours. So I kind of always just try and get more than 7 hours. And then apparently it actually even decreases, is what I read, as you get even older.
Well, okay. So
Is
let's
that
talk
true?
about how
'Cause
much
I feel like
sleep
you would know this
actually
more
need.
than
Okay.
me.
So how many hours do you actually need is a question that I think is important to talk about, because a lot of people don't even have a sense of that. And I don't think I really knew what is the right answer.
And there has to not be one, isn't there?
There's definitely not one, but there certainly is like normal distribution. You know what I mean? Like most people, they say need 7 to 9 hours.
And that's actually the WHO. I read that today.
What?
They said 7 to 9 hours.
Well, that is like what every sleep research comes back with. It's like that's when people seem to be optimized. Some people need more, some people need less, but chances are you probably are somebody, and you probably are somebody.
Human. You're probably sentient human if you're listening.
I wonder how
to
many
this.
bots watch and listen to this. I'm not joking. There's
Hopefully
like
you're
so
enjoying
many.
my AI machine.
Yeah. But 7 to 9 hours, with 8 kind of being the magical number. In my opinion, that's also because like a sleep cycle for most people is an hour and a half. And if you add up the amount of sleep cycles, you can get to 7.5 hours, and you have like half an hour to like go to bed and wake up. And so you get those sleep cycles, can wake up rested.
I totally remember when back in the day we were doing all our sleep videos, I remember 7.5 being my alarm, because it was like, that's the perfect REM, non-REM sleep cycle. Get those eyes vibrating and those dreams flowing.
Yeah, to me it is like the 8, because I figure it'll take me a little bit of time to fall asleep. It'll take me, who knows what might happen. I might wake up in the middle of the night and go to the bathroom. So that might
design your alarm for 8, assuming you're actually ending up with 7.5.
Yeah, but I mean, that is assuming you can do it on a regular basis, because you may have sleep debt. Like if you're sleeping 6 hours a night every night because of your job or school or whatever,
or kids,
just getting like 8 hours one night doesn't like reset you.
Yeah.
And your body also probably will react not great to that, because you're so not used to it. Some people say, like, if I suddenly got 10 hours of sleep, I'll feel more tired that day. Like that's just anecdotal, but I've heard other people say how it can often make you feel more tired because your body adjusts to your lifestyle. But it's important to know there are a lot of people who be like, oh, I can get less than 7, less than 6, less than 5. Even if you feel well, like I know in this podcast and in my video, I'm talking about feeling tired, like what you want to feel. But so study after study after study just shows you are cognitively impaired if you get less than 7 hours of sleep to your own like baseline. Yeah. So when you sleep 8 hours, there's no impairment. That seems to be like optimal. And then when you get more, it doesn't really change much. But under 6 hours for 10 days straight is being the equivalent of cognitively drunk. So in terms of reaction times, in terms of like how much information you can retain, in terms of how you can perform in sports, like you are cognitively
in sports.
No, sports is not cognitively drunk, but obviously your recovery rate for muscle growth and stuff, not cognitive, but impacted by sleep.
I need to know that for all the football I'm playing.
Well, they often say, if you talk to even trainers and look online, it's like sleep is one of the most important factors for exercise.
Yeah, my trainer told me that if my muscles are going to grow, I have to sleep a lot. And I kind of was like, that's BS.
Honey, if your muscles are going to grow, I know your trainer's definitely like a straight bro. But
yeah, he is. He didn't say, honey, if your muscles are going to grow.
Sweetheart,
he was very mask about it. But I looked it up, and it was because of growth hormone regulation, and he was not wrong. Like when you're in REM sleep is when there's a growth hormone release, and I was like, holy shit, he's not lying to me. This straight man ain't lying to me.
Yeah. Now you have to listen to your own body in terms of how many hours. There are statistics that show people who sleep more, like there's sometimes it's worse for you, but what they've kind of
worse for you to sleep more,
like if you go 9 hours, 10 hours,
because then you're kind of just like, isn't that bad for you're just lying down?
No, I mean, yeah, obviously you're static, but I would listen to your own body, and what those studies eventually not those studies, but I think in meta-analysis, they realized that's because people who are sick and have health conditions also sleep more. So it's kind of confounded, right? Like people who are sleeping more hours can also be sick, or it could just be mixed in with people who just need more sleep generally because of their genetic predisposition. But it messes up those results because you're like, yeah, when you're sick, you sleep more.
Yeah, like when I had COVID, see ya.
And people who have like chronic conditions may need more sleep. And that is one other important thing to note. Like, we're going to talk about things you can do, but obviously there are health conditions, medical conditions. Like, I found out I have a minor form of sleep apnea. It's like there are sometimes reasons that you struggle with energy levels and sleep beyond just like, you know, like make sure you sleep in a cold environment, like that kind of stuff. Like, you can try all these things we're going to talk about, but it's like sometimes you need to like search a little deeper with a health professional.
Also, marijuana makes me hype, and sometimes I'm like, oh, I'm not tired, because if like I ever get tired, I just like eat edibles, and then I'm, you know what I mean. Sometimes you are like mentioning how you think I'm a more non-tired person, although I've been definitely consuming way less weed now in my life. But I feel like that's
like in the last week, you mean?
No, in the last month, I've been doing good. Mine is that 1 week with the vape pen, but I got rid of it.
I was like, the vape pen was another story.
Well, don't come for me or I'll come for you, babe.
What? I do not do that often.
My little edible king. I think I'm going to have an edible.
Once a week?
Oh my God. Uproarious laughter is heard throughout the home.
Okay, call me out. What do you think? I do not do it more than once a week.
No, this is not an episode about marijuana, but I'm writing that down and we will get back to it.
Okay.
My point is that when I think about my energy levels, like I have such high energy, but sometimes I'm like, especially, I just don't allow myself to even feel tired because I'm like, okay, I know what to do here. And I just give myself a drug that makes me feel more awake. Whereas you, I think, don't do that as much.
Yeah.
And weed doesn't do that.
But something I noticed or found out recently, so we took DNA tests recently for like a video we're going to do.
Yeah.
We'll talk about that later. But on my results, it said I'm a highly fatigued person. Like, I have the genetics of somebody who struggles more with energy.
Oh, that's cool.
And I'm curious when your results could come back to like, I presume it will be different. But it was just like, there is a spectrum, and there was like, you know, you're averagely fatigued, and then like under average and over average, and I was over average.
Wow. Because
it's all statistics and
and genetics, but it's like both your parents have so much energy, which is so interesting. And both my parents have so much energy too.
And I have found myself a lot more energy in the recent years. So I think part of it, maybe I'm predisposed, but maybe under the right conditions, you can kind of optimize on that. I want to like be careful because obviously some of this stuff is like cringy when it's like
tech
I need
bro,
to be productive.
Tech bro. No. Why don't you work harder and make more money?
It's like I just want to feel better. Like I want to feel like I don't need to sleep all the time. And that I mean, I still love napping. Like I'll have my afternoon slump, which everyone does. It's not about like never feeling tired, but in my main moments of my day, I'm not like non-functioning, which I kind of sometimes used to feel.
Yeah. Oh wait, can you just start with some
tips?
I'm just like so curious.
Okay. So, well, do you want me to go over? So there's 3 sort of like of the things that not only the research will show is the most major, but I found the most significant, but they're kind of like the biggest changes.
Yeah, just start with one.
Some other ones that are more just like, what are you going to do tonight?
No, big. And then we'll end with what are you going to do tonight?
Okay.
So they have to stay till the end. And again, share with your friends and family.
And help them sleep. Okay. The 3 biggies. Number 1, diet. Okay. The 3 biggies are kind of like annoying because these are things that you have to change over a long period of time. Having one good day of your diet is probably not going to do much.
Just like a healthy diet, or is it more specific?
So there are some specific tips. I like a lot of sleep researchers and experts like try not to give diet advice because they're not dietitians, and there's so many different diets that it's not about just this specific diet is the best, but like there are some generalizations, like whole food diets tend to leave people with higher energy in studies, or higher levels of processed foods make people feel more tired. Like these are things we can kind of probably guess.
Yeah.
And more research has found that high sugar and low fiber diets messes up your non-REM sleep quality and results in more awakenings at night.
High sugar
and low fiber.
So
that would be like processed foods as well, right?
Yes.
Like if you're leaning more into like fast food or candy or chips and those things, like there's not a lot of fibers, not a lot of nutrients.
I always forget about the concept of processed foods, which is obviously something I should not slip my mind because it's so important.
And it's everywhere.
And it's like everywhere, but it's such a nice reminder or I don't think about that when I'm eating, but it's kind of a cool way to look at what you're eating and being like, how has this been processed? Like what factory, like
what did it go through?
How much starch had to be obliterated before it got into this? Or is my body going to obliterate it itself because I'm eating a gosh damn full piece of wheat or whatever? It's interesting. And I do feel like my diet right now with being vegetarian is more whole. And I kind of never really thought about how it's harder
probably
to...
not just because you're like, I think when you become quote unquote vegetarian, your brain naturally starts having to evaluate everything you're eating.
And actually meat in and of itself, like
meat is a whole food.
We ate meat this weekend because we were out for dinner as a special occasion, or we ate fish. And it's like, oh, that's a whole food. You know what I mean? I'm like, that wasn't...
I think it is... it was obvious to me in retrospect. I think we both have become like healthier eaters. I think naturally as people age, you kind of have to. Otherwise, well, actually, maybe that's not true. But I will say now that we are healthier eaters, it's so obvious to me when we eat like poorly how much worse I feel, both physically and energy wise.
I guess I'm always thinking about things not as how processed is this thing, which I now kind of want to think about because it's kind of also fun and interesting because I love the idea.
Let's go through our drawers and our fridge and like see what.
I also love knowing, like, I love picturing where food came from. Like, I think it's insane how cheap everything is at the grocery store when they're like, it's from Guatemala. I'm like, that's crazy that I'm eating this in Toronto. This should be more money. But just, now I kind of want to be like, oh, I'm about to eat this thing. Like, where was it produced? In a factory, or was it like plucked right off a tree? And
right.
Like, it's just interesting.
Yeah, and I think it's important to have everything in moderation. It doesn't mean like cut out that you can't have a balanced diet when you're including things that are snacks, or even like a lot of people are afraid of carbs or like bread and things which are processed. And I'm not saying you should be eating lots of it or little. It's just like everyone has to find that balance for their own body, and you can definitely have a well-balanced diet when you're also sometimes having like food that's quote unquote bad for you. Because it is sort of relative. If you're malnourished, then is anything really bad for you? Well, yeah. I mean, obviously you don't want like crazy intakes of salt and stuff, but any food is going to fulfill your body's needs if you're not eating enough.
Yeah. So it is like, if you're for the non-rapid eye movement, high fiber, low sugar, and sugar is usually mixed in with processed foods.
Yes.
Like when I think about the times I'm enjoying sugar.
Yeah.
It's usually processed foods, including like baking myself something, but I'm like, that flour certainly is processed.
Yeah,
like,
I think it is important to think about. Even sometimes like, I don't know, like milks and stuff. Like I obviously get like, I don't know the full process, but I was thinking the other day, like I used to put like oat milk into my shakes and was just like, I don't know that it's really like giving me anything. Like, but probably a bunch of sugar. Yeah. And like, maybe I can just replace it with water because my thing already has like fruit to make it sweet.
You mean you're talking about a smoothie?
A smoothie that I make. I used to put like alternative milk into it. And then I just tried it with water one day and was like, oh, it's naturally sweet enough. I mean, there's like protein powder that has like sweetener in it. And I was like, I don't think I need that because I don't know that it's really providing me. There's probably not very much fiber and it's probably has sugar in it that's like making it taste better.
Wow. And that's
not
processed.
bragging on like oat milk. But
no, but it is all processed because you're like, I obviously didn't like this milk didn't come from a cow, and even that's processed. And then cheese, even that's processed. It's like interesting.
Yeah. And it's interesting to think about sort of new age health and environmental things. Like obviously oat milk's so much better for the environment than regular milk and even most other milks, and it's like a great alternative for even coffee and stuff. So I'm not saying like you have to remove it from your life, but that's an example where you just be like, oh, it's healthier, and maybe that's true, but maybe it's not really. You know, because it's like probably more processed. Okay, that's diet. Cool. I will say for myself, I know it's made a huge difference, and like that seems obvious, but I think it's obvious because it's true. Like everyone knows when you're eating better, you probably feel better.
I don't feel like I have sleep problems.
2, the other annoying one, exercise. Okay. So I only say it's annoying because I used to hate exercising. I was always afraid of the gym.
And diet and exercise is that
it's
annoying
like you
thing
hear
that you
it
always
all the
hear.
time. And it's like, I know me saying this probably won't change anyone because it didn't change me for a long time. Until I was kind of just really fed up and sick of feeling this way. And for me, exercise was like I had a major back problem, and that's what got me exercising more to fix. But
sorry, what does that have to do with sleep? They just say in general it makes you sleep better.
Okay, so let's see. Sleep studies show that exercise increases your total sleep time. Okay, especially your non-REM sleep, which is like a really regenerative form of sleep. Like that's when your body and muscles are recovering, and it increases the overall quality of sleep. by exercising on a regular basis. Your subjective alertness improves the better exercise you get. Not better exercise, but more exercise. And it takes participants less time to fall asleep if they exercise, with fewer awakenings across the nighttime. So this is when they've like taken groups and study them for, a couple months, and then they get them on an exercise regime and then see like how their life changes from that for 12 weeks or whatever. The interesting thing, similar to diet with exercise, it was like in these studies, exercising hard or well today does not correlate with how well you'll sleep tonight. So it's not just, it was like kind of random, but on the overall trend, if you have like a relatively more active lifestyle, and that also includes just like going on walks more regularly and just being more active as opposed to sitting at a computer all day, which we do. It's like, how can you make sure your body's moving more?
That's also like annoying, but also good to hear, because sometimes it's like, well, I worked out. Why am I not falling asleep? And that would make you go crazy because like I worked out. But it's like, no, it's an overall thing. So it's a little more annoying because it's like, of course, you're not going to like maybe feel it as viscerally, but totally makes sense.
Yeah. Like last night I was like, why am I not falling asleep? I went to get bed at a good time. I've been like working out. I wasn't like drinking or anything last night. I didn't have coffee too late. It's just sometimes you just don't know.
Yeah.
And so this was like, don't always count on exercise being the reason you're going to fall asleep unless you can kind of just generally introduce it and keep it in your life.
Yeah.
And then the final sort of big one that is always talked about by sleep researchers, and I think everyone can change and easier than exercise and diet, I think, is a sleep schedule. So,
that's not easier, is it?
Okay. Easier is the wrong word, but it's like,
I see.
in
It's
some ways,
intense,
cognitively a similar change. Like to
Then
change
diet,
your entire diet is actually a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like everything you buy has to change potentially. The patterns in your life, the habits in your life. That can be true about sleep schedule, but it's like your body literally works like a clock.
Is it just this has to be the same every night?
Yeah.
It's always that.
Which is annoying. But
how do you do that on the weekend when you have Pride coming up?
Yeah, I think that is the thing. But like any good change, it's like you just have to accept you're going to fall off it. Like it's never going to be perfect. Yeah. Every weekend my sleep schedule gets messed up. Like despite how leading up to Friday, I'm always like, no, this week I'm going to do my best.
Sunday night, I'm like, I'm going to get out of bed at 11 every night and wake up at 7:30 and go on a run.
Exactly.
And then the first day comes, I'm like, well, I'll just do it on Tuesday. And then all of a sudden it's Saturday and you're like at a club raging.
Yeah. But sleep schedule for people in studies is like one of the biggest indicators of energy levels. Like if you can have a consistency, it's just like something I didn't quite realize. It is boring, but when you think about like
it's
your body is constantly dealing with hormones and chemicals and things it's releasing, and
it makes
even
total sense.
Light and dark are affecting what's happening in your body. And so something a lot of people don't know is like the hour before you wake up, your body is starting to prep physically to wake up.
Cool.
And it's releasing hormones,
Boner.
it's releasing chemicals. And so if that schedule is the same every day, your body just like starts doing it at the right time. You wake up more refreshed and like less sleep inertia because you're in sync with that process.
Ooh, no, this is a bit different, and it's probably maybe more of the, not the biggie, but the simple ones. I have for about 6 months had a cold shower every morning.
Oh, true. I didn't put that in here, but cold showers.
It doesn't work, but that when you you leave,
it doesn't work.
No, like I mean, like it's not like at 2 p.m. I'm thinking about it, but when I like go downstairs, I think it's probably annoying for you because I know you're always kind of there, like looks like you've been like hit by a bus and you're like holding your coffee, and I'm always like, hello, and it's like that time I'm feeling so energized because and what I do is it's like
a nervous system like shock.
Yeah, it really is, and it does work in the sense that you can't help but not kind of be like, holy shit.
Yeah.
And you do get used to it and it's really fun. But depending on the day, it'll be between 10 seconds to 20 seconds.
I can hear you doing it sometimes.
Of the shower.
Goes,
and you, yeah. And you just, it's like a cool, almost like meditation on the day. Like if I'm like hungover, I'll be like, it's a 20-seconder. Right. But if I'm kind of like, I feel good, I'm like, it's a 10-seconder. Or I'm like, you know what? It's an in-between. We're going to do 14 seconds. And I just put it to the coldest. And then you go, and then it at least for, I don't know, 5 minutes, you're awake.
Like
and sometimes it can like mentally help you because it's first thing in the morning. And when you have a bit of a perk first thing in the morning, it might help you be like, I'm fine today. It doesn't mean that I'm thinking about it at all later.
No,
but I
that's
do it a
fair,
lot
but-
before throughout the day if I'm ever tired too.
There is interestingly a lot of research on cold showers, unrelated to wakefulness,
Yeah.
but related to health and wellness. That
And if you are a psycho, like capitalist, like man who wants to make sure
You?
that what is it, like the productivity dudes, they talk about it in the most hilarious way,
Right.
Like they think that like getting in cold water, like, and there's like some research, but they hyperbolically talk about it like it's gonna make them live forever, and it's like really funny. And I just want people to know that it's like not always what
yeah, it
people say
might,
it is.
but like that is what the research has been on, is like aging and longevity. Like
Yeah.
that those it's the same thing for exercise. It's like
Yeah.
putting your body sometimes through stress and extreme conditions, but not so extreme that you injure
Yeah.
yourself. Stimulates parts of your body that start
Yeah.
repairing things.
Yeah.
and so
But
the
what-
same way. Yeah,
But what they'll do, because I got into like ice swimming and swimming in the winter, so I did a bunch of this research, is it's exactly that. It's like working out. When your body's under safe stress, it's very good for you. Think of hunter-gatherers, like they're under these like bouts of stress, and that's good. And so they kind of ignore every aspect of life, like sleeping and diet
Right.
and
Being
exercise.
just like, just have a cold
and they're just
shower.
like, jump in this cold thing, and like your literal telomeres are going to lengthen, and it becomes almost like magical and pseudoscientific
Yeah.
and a little culty and
Yeah.
a little. All of a sudden you're literally now
cold water.
worshiping a cult. Like it's like crazy. It is so funny that the cold water, and when I do it in like Ontario, the amount of people who go by and they're like, oh man, you're one of those. Like they all like it's so weird. I'm like, well, not really.
I mean, deep down, you are a tech bro.
that's why I'm
you with
so
a different
mad
degree.
about
You're,
it.
yeah, you're seeing in
If
them
I was
what you hate in
straight, I would
yourself.
be in Silicon Valley getting overpaid to ruin the world.
Sitting in an ice tub
Sitting
while
in an
you're on
ice
your
tub,
laptop.
closing my eyes and like saying ideas to people while they all are like, "You're a genius," and then slowly I'm
and then literally like
deteriorating.
destroying the economy.
Yeah, being like,
because
maybe
you're,
we need to like get
ego's
more
too big.
have children mine cobalt in like parts of
Oh my
Africa with no
God.
money. That'd be a good idea.
Yeah, that's you with a different degree.
Yeah, but thank God I ended up this.
Thank God. I'm curious to talk a little more about your relationship to like sleep and tiredness. Do you think because one other factor that comes in for a lot of people is your chronotype. So like if you're an early bird.
You're
or
in my
a night
chrono.
owl.
What did you just burp? What is that word?
Chronotype, hon. It's like when you naturally tend to wake and fall asleep.
Oh, I'm definitely, raised kid, broad daylight outside. Kids are laughing in the street. My parents are like, you're going to bed. So I definitely went to bed early. And I think that more and more, if I didn't have this type of job with this much freedom, I would for sure be going to bed so early. Like that's
Right.
always what I've
your natural
liked.
inclination.
Yeah. And I kind of am like so surprised that I even live in this like reality where I can almost stay up till 11:30 on a weeknight. Like I would never have pictured myself doing that.
You're saying that like it's late?
yeah, because I think
That is so funny.
because of the way that
I'm
I
like, I go
pictured
to
my
bed
life.
so early because of this life.
Yeah, well, I mean that's what I mean. We're so different. Like I pictured myself being a teacher
Right.
and needing to go to bed at
At, like,
10:30 because I have to
yeah,
get up
so
at
early.
5:36
Yeah.
or something. Because if I say I wanted to work out with that lifestyle,
Yeah.
you'd have to do it before work.
Yes.
but,
Whereas I
yeah.
used to truly like stay up till 2, 3, 4 a.m. at the beginning, like when you were teaching and we were starting ASAP Science, so we didn't like have a lot of responsibility, or I didn't. Sorry, you
Yeah.
were teaching, and I was like able to just kind of do this on a whim.
So you're,
I would say up-
genetic night owl.
100%, and my
Yeah.
DNA test showed that as well.
So you can still do that.
It's very difficult.
Like you don't have anything to do in the morning.
Well, so we used to have like I've just slowly become more of a morning. And your chronotype can change also over your life. So I think I've shifted not only because of our structure of our life.
And
so
society.
We used to have like an office with a bunch of people and everyone would go in at 9 and I would feel like bad if I'm coming in at
Yeah,
noon. And
yeah.
like they're like, my boss doesn't show up till noon.
Yeah, that's
so there
very
was a lot
fair.
of stress about that, as well as even just like now we communicate with people on the internet, like who live in different places, but there's still sort of this sense that like between ish 9 to 5, like I should be available. I know I could move out of that, but
Yeah.
because we work with people and because you have a morning schedule, there's like I'm just anxious in that way. I have a lot more guilt when I'm alone. Like if I'm somewhere alone, I'll definitely naturally be like, oh, sick, I can sleep, go to bed super late, go to bed at 2, wake up at 10, and I'm not like knowing you're awake and just like downstairs working already.
Oh my God, but you should be more autonomous. Like I'm not.
It's difficult
not.
though. Like when you live with someone, like I wake up if you wake up. I'm not blaming you because now I do.
But you wake up before me.
Now I am naturally like because of my sleep schedule. Like,
but you also like have been
probably
saying you can't sleep in and stuff like that.
Yeah, because of my sleep schedule. Like I'm so trained now to get up. For me, it's around 8. That even on the weekend, even when I'm hungover, even if I went to bed at 4, I still wake up at 8.
Oh, I don't have that.
I hate
I
it.
can sleep if I'm tired.
Yeah, I wake up and I'll just lay in bed, being like, I feel so shitty. I need to go to bed.
You need to keep away, and the only reason I can do it, that phone's out of the room.
I don't usually keep my phone in my room on the weekdays.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, we can. No,
Oh,
it's those.
true.
It's the.
No, but it's not for me. It's not my phone. It's
okay.
just my phone. Also, when it's in our room, is not near me. It's at the other side of the room.
I just mean I've noticed that on the weekend when I can't sleep in, it's when I go, oh, I'll just grab my phone. Then all of a
Right.
sudden you're stimulated, and then you're like,
Yeah,
oh, I'll just get
true.
up. Whereas what I
fair.
do is when I stay up really late, I make sure the phone's not in my room because that's the only way I can sleep in because the phone will
Calls you.
and it gives you. It's like, is it anxiety? No, it's not anxiety. It gives you excitement. It really
Yeah.
does. It's like, ooh, fun. You're looking at your
Yeah.
photos from the night before. You're texting people about the night, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, well, I might as well get up.
Yeah, I don't think it's that for me. I think it's just that I try so hard for the sleep schedule during the week, every week, that it bleeds in.
Yeah.
It's a bit of like our blinds are not blackout blinds too. So I think my body responds like really intensely to the light. And sometimes that, if I don't get ahead of it, like I hate wearing a night mask. So sometimes I put one on in the morning and then I fall back asleep. But the lightness is like a huge part of people's light. Like
Yeah.
your wake sleep schedule is highly impacted by the daytime. And that is something that is advised for even people who are insomniacs, is to make sure you're getting exposed to daylight in the morning. For everyone, it's recommended that you get like at least half an hour of daylight on your skin, in your eyes, so that your body is being stimulated. But for people who struggle with sleeping, period, they say to try to get maybe an hour or 2 hours out in the daytime, and then at night to make your lights a lot darker in your house, like live in low light before you go to bed.
Some people also love the feeling of like nighttime where no one's awake and they can, they get a lot of like artists talk about like painting and getting writing done. But I'm the opposite. I feel like depressed. I'm like, everyone's asleep.
Oh.
Like I feel like I'm not part of like the group. I'm like, wait, I didn't mean sleep.
You're like jealous of them?
Well,
or
I've
just,
always
like-
noticed that like there's like interesting artists and painters that I've been studying recently because I'm trying to paint more. And a lot of them talk about painting at night because it's the only time. And I get that. But then I'm like, but aren't you depressed like up all night? Whereas they're talking about how happy and ecstatic they are to
Yeah.
be alone. And I'm like, I don't want to be
Yeah.
alone.
I think that's I don't do it anymore, but I think that's the relief for me, is like it is your own time. You're way less likely to be interrupted. You don't feel like you have to, there's like no one's expecting anything of you
Yeah.
at 2 a.m.
It's kind of cool to like look out into Toronto from the window and being like, everything's dead.
Yeah.
Like it's cool. You're like, wow, Toronto is the city that seems to sleep.
Yeah.
You're in New York City, honey. I ain't gonna work.
That's true. Yeah, Toronto sleeps.
I love New York City. I miss it so much. I need to go back. But I do remember traveling there as a kid and like getting up at like 5 for the Rosie O'Donnell show. And everyone's around. And I was like, Mom, it really is a city that doesn't sleep. Like I remember it.
There's just so many people.
Yeah, but it was cool. I remember even as a kid, I was like, 5 a.m. and everyone's bustling. This city is amazing.
It's so funny. Anytime like I go anywhere and have to drive somewhere or like get up early and there's other people, I'm like, what are all these people doing awake? And then I'm like, well, I'm awake.
I always feel like such a loser when I get up early and look out the window and I see everyone on our street like going to work. I'm like, wow, like they actually do that. I'm such a lazy piece of
Yeah,
ass.
we are definitely lucky.
Okay, what are the simple ones?
Okay, a couple simple tips. I'm not going to give them all because obviously I'm making a video and you have to watch that.
Subscribe to ASAP Science on YouTube.com.
But some little ones that aren't going to make or break your life, but are going to help. Don't hit the snooze button. Okay.
Oh yeah,
I made a video about this a long time ago.
and I've since that video never hit the snooze button, and I guess it helps.
And I used to be a snoozer. I used to hit it like 2, 3, 4 times.
It gives me anxiety to hit it now because
Me
it's like
too.
hell.
So what's going to happen is if you set your, like usually when people are hitting snooze, they've set their alarm either earlier than they need to. So you're like already cutting your sleep shorter. And then those extra little 10 minutes, your body, like I said, prepares to wake up. It has like a natural cycle. But when you wake up and then go back to sleep, you're basically telling your body to go back into deep sleep, like to restart the next sleep cycle. Even if you wake up in the middle of the night, like you lay back down and your body's like, okay, time to go back into deep sleep. And so not only are you now like interrupting potentially that wake up pattern, it's not there anymore. You've actually said, no, we're going back for another sleep cycle. So your body triggers a bunch of responses.
Oh, shit.
When that next alarm comes off, you might be even more tired. You might be coming out of a deeper sleep. Maybe not, like you might have, if your alarm's having to wake you up, you might already be coming out of a deep sleep. But it's just a risk. And it's like, if you're going to do it 3 or 4 times, it's probably way better to get that extra 40 minutes of sleep, because 10 minutes isn't enough to get you into those zones where you're like benefiting. I know some people probably, and I used to feel like it did help me, because maybe you're not actually falling asleep and you're just kind of like waiting there. And sometimes you're so tired that you're just like, I just am hitting snooze so I don't forget to get up, but I'm really just like lying here kind of waking up. Maybe that's a little different, but now I'm just like, max out your sleep.
Yeah.
Find a way to force yourself out of bed with that alarm so you can't hit snooze. Like maybe that means
the invention of the snooze button was illegal.
Yeah.
It was bad for thine human bodies.
So that's one.
That's an easy. That's a very simple.
The other one is caffeine, which I'm drinking a lot of today.
Wait, what?
So obviously caffeine's like a cheat code, as we say, for like being less tired. And it's not like people can have a healthy relationship with caffeine.
2 a day for me.
And I
Is
don't
that healthy?
know. The amount isn't necessarily the health problem. It's when you're having it. So,
Ew.
and there are fast metabolizers of caffeine, but for the most part, you're probably average. And so
Drag everyone.
caffeine's half-life is 6 hours. So if you drink a coffee at 6 p.m., half of that caffeine will be in your system at midnight.
I just realized I had a coffee Saturday night after dinner. Remember?
You dummy.
I did.
You did.
Because I was trying to pretend I was in The Sopranos and I couldn't sleep.
shoulda got a
all
decaf.
night.
Oh my
Oh
gosh,
my
Greg.
God.
And that
I
was a
was
late dinner,
sitting there
too.
trying to be like, what is this? Oh my God.
I love how like you didn't even consider that.
I
like,
completely
That's why I
forgot.
had that dinner. I was like, no, I'm not having coffee. It's way too late.
Okay. Holy shit.
However, there are some people who can do that because there
they're
are
fine.
like people who can just have it. Or if you drink so much caffeine, your body might just be like more used to that.
Yeah, because I drink one when I get up, usually like whatever. It's usually like 8.
And then like early afternoon.
And then I always have one between 12 and 1. And it's really actually quite insane for me how past 1, if I don't have a coffee,
You go
I
grumpy, yeah.
go crazy. I'm like, hey, Mitch, you look like shit. Like I literally I'm literally just like, I'll say the meanest shit. Like sometimes I've been like working out and then been like, no, and like dropped a weight and been like, this is hell. Like, and then I'm like, oh my God. And I go and get a coffee and I'm like,
like
it
instant
has
fix.
it's just like such a schedule, but I never have a coffee later than 2 except Saturday, and I was up all night. Oh my God, I'm so stupid. You know when you're just
And
having a
that-
dinner and you just want to be Italian for once in your goddamn life. You want to be Tony Soprano.
And you were. I wonder if Tony Soprano has bad sleep because of his
Yeah,
coffee.
of course he does. He was like the unhealthiest man ever. Okay.
But yeah, I mean, it makes sense. And so obviously 6 p.m. is like an extreme example. Like typically they recommend not too late in the afternoon because that at least gives you time to metabolize it.
6-hour half-life.
Half-life.
So that's still 12
and you might
hours
not-
till it's gone.
You may not be experiencing the full benefit of the alertness of it, but it's still stimulating your brain. It's still blocking. So what caffeine does is it blocks adenosine receptors, which make you tired, but then adenosine can't bind to it in your brain. And the other trade-off too is every now and then I try to quit caffeine because I realize my tolerance gets higher and higher and I need more. And your brain
Which it does.
It does. Your brain makes more receptors because it's like it's stimulated in that way. All this like adenosine receptors need more, and so you require more caffeine. And to me, it's like a slippery slope. As I sit here having a third coffee in one day by the
Holy
afternoon, which
shit.
I never do, but it's really hard to come back off of coffee.
Oh, and it's also just don't even bother.
I'm not saying you need to, but
no, sorry. This is just me in general. When people are like, "I'm gonna quit caffeine," I'm like, "Yeah, good luck having the worst week of your life for no reason."
Okay, well, I will say
It's not that bad for you.
I'm not saying it's bad for you.
You just need to hydrate.
I'm saying there have been times in my life when I'm addicted to caffeine, whether that's tea or coffee in the morning, maybe sometimes in the afternoon.
That's the tea, honey sled.
And then there's been times in my life when I quit and like slowly quit and found my way off. When I am not addicted to coffee, my mornings, I wake up so much easier.
Yeah, that is true. A lot of people who don't drink coffee are like, hey, I'm the happiest person in the world and I found God. And I'm like, what? Like
it's coffee.
It feels like that is something I have not known since I was like, 18?
Right.
And so there is something glamorous about that. And that just the way that people sometimes like, I quit caffeine and now I have so much energy always, and I'm Buddhist. Like, it's like they always have the most intense reaction.
I would say also, though, it is such a confounded variable with your going back to sleep schedule. So I find it's so much harder.
Yeah.
I only, now I've learned the hard way, ever try to minimize my caffeine. So like, I'm going to try to go back to 1 coffee a day. I cannot do that properly.
He says all on his third.
Yeah, I cannot do that unless I have a week where I have a really good consistent schedule, because that means I will like be counteracting the tiredness of the coffee. Like when you're not sleeping well, you need coffee because you're tired.
Yeah.
So if you're going to try and quit coffee, you better be getting more sleep, better scheduled sleep, like thinking about that, because that's going to compensate for that tiredness.
Oh my God. I once tried to quit caffeine for a video
and the video never got made.
The video never got made because our whole team decided to do it. We all were inebriated. Our one friend walked into a door, and it was also, she thought it was the door to our office. It was the wrong door. I remember like really close friends coming over at 6 p.m. to hang out, and I lied and said I had a migraine because I was like, I can't be around anyone. It was absolute hell. And I know friends who are Catholic for some reason, and they do Lent for some reason. Lots of people do that. And they try to give up a series of things, including
Oh, you said
caffeine.
they're not Catholic.
No, they are.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why I said it like that. And they will give up other things quite easily and just not be able to do caffeine. It's interesting.
It's
like,
hard. In my experience, cold turkey is very difficult. And I have always now started doing it like, instead of having a full coffee, if I only do 1 a day, doing like 3/4 that day for a couple days, and then doing half a coffee. But then you have the 1 day where you sleep bad and you're like, no, I'm going back to full coffee. So
it'd be super cool to be that person, to be like, no coffee for me, thanks. Don't drink caffeine.
yeah, my best life.
Would it actually?
My best life is when I only need coffee like every so often. So like if I don't have it on my regular day, but if I'm like a little tired today, have it. But that means like don't have it the next day and then the next day. Like
it is
then
weird.
I'm optimizing, because then caffeine makes you feel amazing.
Yeah, that's another thing, to be doing the caffeine after not. You're
like, I'm having the best day of my life. Yeah.
Also, I do think it's kind of weird that we drink this bitter brown sludge. Like if it was like,
it's because it's a drug.
No,
That's
I
the only
know.
reason.
And I just love the taste so much. But objectively, when I swish it in my mouth and taste it, I'm like, ew. It's like,
oh, me too.
So weird. It's like, why am I? It's like, I love it. It's a very interesting substance. Like, it's like that adult thing. Like when your parents gave you wine, you're like, that's disgusting. And for some reason now I drink wine and I'm like, it is disgusting.
Yeah,
but
I think it really
like
is in both those cases because of the impact. Right?
And
which conditions you to like the taste.
Yeah. Like we're conditioned to like this brown sludge and we're conditioned to like this rancid fermented grape.
Let alone that, like at least wine has like kind of tastes like juice. It's like when you're taking like shots, it's like no one can like that. I'm sorry. But like people like the effect of it. I mean, I'm sure some people do like it, but
and shots are like when it is funny to watch people do it.
Yeah. Like literally face like squeezing and feeling like they're going to vomit. It's like, that is crazy that people put themselves through that, but it's a drug.
Yeah.
As caffeine is a drug.
Yeah. And so is sugar. That's what the kids are doing these days.
I mean, I wouldn't say sugar is a drug.
No, sorry. I'm talking about, I just in my head went to like the kids at the party yesterday and I was like, the parents are drinking beer and the kids are having sugar and you're kind of, it's like a bit similar and they're like, like
they're getting like,
it's actually like,
sugar.
Yeah, that's a different episode, but,
the last, I have lots more tidbits. I'll just give one little one.
Okay.
And it's related to alcohol. Same kind of idea. Like a lot of people think a nightcap puts them to sleep, which it kind of does.
Oh, yeah.
But it robs you of your REM sleep.
Yes.
So like it might help you fall asleep, but it's actually like messing up your sleep cycle and your sleep stages. So you're actually getting way worse sleep, even if you're like knocked out.
Which is why you can sometimes day drink.
Oh,
and
like
then get a good sleep if you stop.
Well,
at 6
same idea in terms of half-life. It's like if you're drinking earlier in the day, and I'm not like promoting this, but in some ways it's like if you had a choice between having a few drinks at night and a few in the day, you're actually better off in the day because your body has time to metabolize.
Only
it.
for your sleep. We've done other things, but then you can't function.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you're like,
ruining your whole day.
and then you eat more junk food. Like you lose your ability to like
But alcohol is just this like really intense form of sleep disruption. Not only you'll probably have to pee more at night if you're drinking before bed. It leads to impaired breathing at night. You're more likely to wake up in the middle of the night once the effects have worn off, etc.
Okay, what about the pee thing? Because my trainer, the same straight man who told me that growth hormones released at night, and he happened to be right, told me that he doesn't drink any water after 8 p.m. so that he doesn't constantly get up and pee.
100%. I try that
do
too.
that all the time, though. I pee all night, and that's bad.
But you're like an addicted to drinking water.
Well, I like
you get dehydrated easier, I think.
But what happens is at night I think, oh my God, I didn't drink water. And I drink so much. And then I got up and pee, and I never consider its impact on my sleep, but it probably isn't a good idea.
It's like if you want to be hydrated. Like hydration is also related to alertness and like sleep quality.
And
obviously.
I hate when every morning I get up and pee, I'm like, that's Tropicana orange juice with pulp. It's like disgusting. Like I need water.
But I would say, I specifically try to do that. And when I have, sometimes I'm like so thirsty at 11 when I'm going to bed or 12 when I'm
and
going
you
to
don't?
bed. No, I do, because when you're so thirsty,
Yeah.
you're like, I just need it.
There's nothing better than when you have popcorn and your body gets absolutely pruned to all hell. And then you get home and you know those rare moments where you're like, I'm so thirsty, and the water hits your tongue and you're like, this is a Nestea plunge. Like it is the best feeling. I kind of like want to not drink water and
just to
go
feel
to
the
movies just to like
satisfaction of
feel the satisfaction of
water.
it. And it's crazy. You can chug a full glassy, like a bowl. I drink water out of bowls too, which some people think is weird. Yeah. Yeah. Because then you get more water. You put it like Oliver
I've
Twist.
I've never seen you do this.
I haven't done it in years, but when I was growing up, my mom would always get mad because I would always drink water out of bowls, because I would be like, I just need it in me, and I just like lift it into my mouth. Honestly, no, it was because my parents were so weird, and they'd be like, here's your glass, and I'd be like, this is a thimble for a child. Like they never had big enough glasses.
Right, you're just like, this more fits.
Whereas I realized I grew up and was like, I can buy my own glasses that are normal pint size, whereas give you those
Imagine
little ones.
we go to Greg's house, it's literally thimbles.
Well, you've noticed at my house, they're like, here, want a glass of water? I'm like, yeah, I want 4 to equal 1. So I think that's what was happening. But my point is that dumping of the water into the mouth when you need it is like the best. It's truly the best. It's better than coffee.
Yeah, and at night it's a balancing act. It's the same with like food. Like you don't want to eat too close to bed, because it's actually like you can have indigestion. It can impact your body's like doing all these things for you when you should be sleeping.
Yeah.
But you also don't want to go to bed starving.
Yeah.
Like if you're hungry, you actually get worse sleep as well. So it's the same with liquid, I think. And everyone's body, like I think we could drink the same amount and I will pee more, and I think your body actually needs the water more or uses it. That it's like finding for you. Because waking up to have to pee it is interrupting your sleep.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. And you definitely have taught me that food thing too. Sometimes I go to bed and there's a grumble, I go down like in a stupor and I shove my hands into like a thing of nuts and just like shove them in my mouth.
Something, yeah.
And then I always find it helps.
Yeah.
I go back up and it might just be the thought of knowing I just gave myself a bunch of energy or glucose, but I do find I'm like, oh, that bag of nuts worked. And Ernie's always like wakes up like, what's he doing? I'm like
crunkling in the night eating.
Cool.
That's helpful. Stay tuned if you want more tips. I should have a video out in the next couple of weeks. That's kind of like a quote unquote master list of the most researched ones.
You should call yourself like Sleep Mitch.
No, because there's like I don't actually have like any background.
But you're so into it. Like whenever I have questions, you always have answers.
Manuel's like, I'm Sleep Mitch. Like,
yeah,
you're not the branding guy.
I'm Sleep Mitch. That's my really cutting edge genius brand.
But I hope this helps with your sleep problems, particularly if you're someone who feels tired all the time, which I did feel that way, and I honestly have come really far.
That's cool.
I think a big one for me, last thing I'll say, was I was diagnosed with minor sleep apnea, but they said if you focus and sleep on your sides, which I used to hate doing, it's like in the normal range, and so I've forced myself to. I love sleeping on my back. Now on my sides is more comfortable. I still do sleep on my back.
I'm a face sleeper, and apparently for getting wrinkles as you age, it's not that good.
Oh, really?
But we don't care because we love someone who ages naturally here on this podcast.
And so you're going to look great.
Hence the Botox episode. We still haven't got it yet.
Yeah, and it's annoying because everyone says like sleeping on your back is actually really good for you. But I'm like, I'm not allowed.
Oh, that's
like it's like physically good for you in different ways.
I should try it.
And for your spine.
I could not actually. Yeah, and I do have a Drake and Kanye hunch, is what I call it. The back of my neck has rolls like them, and I'm like, oh god, it's just my struggle.
It's just your structure. Don't worry. All right. Thank you all for listening and watching. Go get some sleep. Go get a nap. Do what you got to do. Get that sleep schedule going. And hopefully I'll join you and not be so tired in the future.
Also,
as in
peace.
tomorrow. Bye.